And you are?
Christina Nam.
Do these nice people know what you're going to play?
I will play the first Brahms Sonata.
In G major. And I'm going to listen out there. and such a nice way to start the day. That's a good atmosphere. You have a beautiful sound and so much ease in playing. But I would like to work on different kinds of beauty because one beautiful sound is not enough to get you through life. And certainly not in a piece like this because he writes so many different ways of soft playing. Just tell me that I'm not trying to test you early in the morning, but I am. Before we start looking at the music, the text, tell me all the ways that he writes soft dynamics.
You mean like?
Well, in other words, it's not just piano.
Oh.
He qualifies his dynamics all the time. And so for me, when you learn a piece of music, my only question is, what did they mean? Why? Why is it so? So the thing with Brahms is that it's so beautifully written for the instrument that it's very tempting just to play one fantastic sound from beginning to end. You know, one version of chocolate. Chocolate, a little brown chocolate, a little dark chocolate here, a little milk chocolate there, a little chocolate with sprinkles. But there's so many, I think he writes so much variety. And I'm trying to look for those differences. Okay, so the opening. What does he write? Don't look.
You mean,
What's your instruction?
instruction? Well, the tempo working is about
Yes. Yes.
Um,
We'll get to the tempo in just one month,
I think
1 minute.
Is it Dolce? Wait, no. Yes.
That's how you play,
Okay.
but he doesn't write Dolce.
Okay.
So I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but what I'm trying to do in my own life is look for clues. I'd like to ask him, but he's dead. I don't know what he meant.
Yeah.
But we should be like Sherlock Holmes and just look at all the information, how to play. So he writes piano mezza voce at the beginning. What does mezza voce mean?
What's a voce? I'm not sure.
Does anybody out there know what mezza voce means? Half voice. Medium is a little, not quite the same, but half voice. Okay, so half of what?
Maybe the feeling, maybe, or I'm not sure.
Right,
Yeah.
so but maybe half of piano.
Piano, yes.
Piano mezza voce.
Yeah.
I don't know, I can't ask him, but this is what an interpretation is. You have to sort of make relative decisions, okay? The second phrase, what does he write there? What are your instructions there?
Is it con anima? Wait, anima. Something animate?
Close, but there's a big difference between con animato and what he writes.
Con. Oh my goodness.
I'll help you.
Okay.
Con anima.
Anima. Okay.
What does con anima mean?
Well, animated, but not fully. Is it?
No.
No.
Thank you for playing. Everybody thinks con anima is animated, but it means with soul.
With soul.
With soul. So that's not a tempo change. That's a feeling change.
Oh.
The difference between mezza voce, which is half voice, and piano with soul, in my mind, is a big, big distance. Okay? Then, forgive me my singing so early in the morning. What does he write there? Very interesting marking, in my opinion.
Is it? I think it's. Wait, teneramente.
What è teneramente?
Grazio.
Yes, and what's the dynamic? Grazioso and teneramente, what do both those words mean, first of all?
Gracefully and with tender.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And what's the dynamic?
Pianissimo.
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 Okay, so already you have piano mezza voce, plain old piano, con anima, pianissimo. I would love those four things to sound completely different when you play.
Okay.
So that has to do with first deciding that they mean something totally different, and then have your hands and soul and brain act accordingly. So you have this fantastically juicy, big, wonderful sound, but it would mean more if you use that selectively when you want to be big and juicy, right? So I would say maybe con anima would be that, and tailor everything beyond that. So can we start the opening ones? And the other thing I wanted to, so besides relative dynamics, you said it's vivace. I'm not in trouble. What's the meter?
Oh my goodness, sorry.
I'm not trying to test you. What I'm trying to do is give us all something to really concretely think about when we play, instead of just playing fantastic sounds. So the meter
Is, oh my goodness.
well, what does it make you do? Here, let me give you a little clue. Yes.
12,
Close?
9, 8. Ah,
Close.
wait.
You can look.
Ah.
It's okay. No, I'm not. 6'4". Okay, so, but you were close, because any multiple of 3
Yes.
implies what? I already acted it out like an idiot for you. A dance, yes. So I would also like a bigger difference between what you think is dancing music and what you think is singing music. What is the element that makes it dancey, besides the fact that it's 6'4"? If I play, as opposed to, what sounds more dancey? Why?
I mean, you lifted the,
Why did I lift the bow?
because there was a rest.
Because there's a rest. So the presence of that rest is the clue to the feeling, in my opinion. You can play whatever tempo you want, but only 2 beats per bar, or 1 beat per bar, or some bars have 0 beats, right? But you often play in many, you bring out everything. If you bring out everything, you actually have nothing. It's like a painting with no dimension. So could you make a much bigger difference when you have the rest? Could you really play the rest so that it sounds dancey? Or you said waltzy, even better. Okay, and can we start dancey mezza voce, half of piano? It's going to feel very strange because you're used to playing like, big all the time. But just think about the atmosphere, much more than the actual sound, okay? Okay, so even if you don't like your pianist or the tempo, that's where the tempo lives. So the other thing that makes it dancey is what? Well, you have this, which is the springboard, but you come in on a syncopation.
Yes.
So what's going to sound more dancey, an early syncopation or a late syncopation?
Late.
More dancey?
Or, oh, you mean like, wait, so early?
You play quite late off of her second beat.
Okay.
Could you play right off of her second beat so that the feet go up instead of down? Okay, so that's correct. But in my upbringing, there's no such thing as correct rhythm. Something's either early or late. The only thing that's correct is Philip Glass, and we're not doing that. So play ridiculously early ones,
Okay.
and really play the rest. In two. The rest, mezzo voce. Still mezzo voce. Still, stay there. Okay, now, this measure is slurred entirely, right? Why do you think so?
Maybe phrase-wise.
Phrase-wise, what does that mean? Yes.
It's one.
It's one thing.
Yeah.
So slurs are not bowing, slurs are connections. So if he writes, and you do, could you try once, not only in one slur, but in one idea, so that you're not bringing out 12 notes. And still mezzo, yeah,
Okay.
still mezzo voce, sorry, no, I didn't write it. Mezzo voce, half. Okay, so if you do, you're bringing out 12 notes. Could you try? So part of it is that you bring out every note with the bow. Ha, 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 ha. Could you just bring out and let it go and not actually bring out everything? Can we try one more time? This. Do you mind? Mezza voce, Christine. Do me a favor, humor me. Just play it in one once. So that it's not making such a big deal. Mezza voce, no crescendo, no. Mezza voce. Shh. Still mezza voce. Still there. Still mezza voce. Still there. Just minor mezza voce. I didn't write it. Don't look at me. No crescendo. Not yet. Now. Okay, so when you see diminuendo, if I do, does that look like a diminuendo?
No.
So if it doesn't look like the music in the mirror, it isn't. Could you try diminuendo in both hands? So I'd like to just introduce an idea to you and everybody else who plays an instrument out there, that vibrato phrases also, that vibrato actually makes dynamics. Could you make a diminuendo in both hands in that measure? That was beautiful. If you stayed down, then the crescendo means something. Then you have a contrast, okay? But I know it's frustrating. I'm sorry, I didn't write it. So how about from the crescendo? And now diminuendo both hands, Christine. Less, each one less. Yes, less. Wait, there's a rest again. There's the rest. No crescendo. Not yet. Now in one measure. Yes. Continue. All the way. Help her dance. Good. Now, just one small thing. Harmony. Harmony creates expression. That's why I always say to my students, please go to harmony class. Do not fall asleep in harmony class. Because, for instance, can I just play with you this theme once? So this is the home key. This is different. This is a suspension. That's a resolution. This is a suspension. That's a resolution. This is a suspension. And now it changes. So on every beat, can I see and hear, see in your hands and hear in your sound, the difference between the harmonies? What is stressed and what is released? In other words, it sounds fantastic, but it looks and sounds all a little the same. So could you make a big difference? Different? Good. And now there's a resolution. More, less. Yeah, wait, so I just want to be clear. We know from Baroque times that resolutions are generally, I hate generalizations, but weak or strong. Yeah, so less both hands. One more time. Help her dance. Suspension, resolution. And now 2 bars. 2 bars should look like a hairpin. Make a hairpin, Christina, make a hairpin. Less. And now con anima. Okay, so the shape of this, it's beautiful. I need you, please. But isn't that the end of that? Yeah. But I see, I love doing this. Could you make more of a shape? Yeah. Right, 4 bars at a time. So I just have a question about this sound compared to, could you play the opening once just to remind yourself of what mezza voce is? Yes. So look at your hands. Just look at them once. Okay, now play con anima. They better look different. Okay. Left hand doesn't look that different. Your body looks different. It's like moving a lot more. Could you try once less of both hands?
Okay.
So when you're deciding a sound, thank goodness there's only two hands, and you should say to yourself, the left hand, is that, what kind of a vibrato is that? Is that a wide one? Is it a narrow one? Is it a lot? Is it a little? What would you say mezza voce in your left hand would be?
Less vibrato, maybe narrow.
Less than what, though? Like, say what to do, not
okay.
less than something that hasn't happened yet.
Okay. Maybe narrow and, small. Yeah.
Small,
Yeah.
a lot of it?
Not a lot.
Great. What about the right hand? A lot, a little?
A little less, little bow.
Little bow.
And
What about location? Location, location. Okay, so do that. Just let's establish what mezza voce is. So little bow means probably not start up there. By the way, it's not a magnet. I don't think you have to get from either end all the time. So here's little everything. You said narrow, you said narrow, you said narrow. You said narrow and small. You said narrow and small. You said small, you said small. Okay. If that's small, I can't wait to see this. We'll get to that. Okay, so it's relative. Now play con anima. Quiz. What's that dynamic? Yes, after forte. But if you do, doesn't it still look forte?
yeah.
Make bigger differences. Really exaggerate the difference. Okay, just from here, so it looks forte and then suddenly a totally different sound. Okay. Subito piano. Not the whole. Yes. Good. Stay there. Not yet. Not yet. Now. Okay. So you understand what I'm saying. Bigger contrast. Now. Is that dancing or singing music? As opposed to, that's clearly singing music, right? But it's dance music, but in pianissimo. So can you play pianissimo, that theme? Okay, does this look pianissimo? Now, it's not just the volume, but what kind of a sound is this? What kind? He wrote it for, thank goodness there are instructions. Grazioso, and you said it before. Which means tenderly. Let's hear your most tender. Okay, that looks dangerously similar to what I've heard already. Stay there, stay there. Stay there. Okay. So for every phrase, I would decide, what do you think he means relative to itself, and what that means for the mood and the sound, and therefore the hands. Now, the only thing I was, 5 minutes? No, finished. Oh. Can I just tell you one more thing for your life? I know everybody plays this movement the way everybody plays this movement, tempo relationship-wise. But that whole middle section, the entire development, he writes poco a poco to più sostenuto for 4 measures. And then this whole development is actually, he doesn't write anything else until right before the recap. Right before the recap, he writes poco a poco, ... to al tempo.
Okay.
Now, again, I can't ask him, he's dead. But when I'm learning something, I'm always saying, oh, okay, there's a tempo change. Where is the correction of the tempo change? He doesn't write that correction until right before the recap. So effectively, what does that mean? Could that mean? Here, you can look at it. It's not a test. This is not a test. I want to actually look at the music with you. All of this, he writes poco a poco to più sostenuto. He doesn't write anything after that. So how long do you think più sostenuto lasts?
Oh, I mean,
Yeah.
to the whole thing.
Till where?
Till the poco.
Till the poco a poco. So poco a poco, in my mind, means accelerando back to tempo primo, which also gives a tremendous intensity to that development, right? So what you want is much bigger distances between dancing, singing, and how long something lasts. That intensity of that, also the dynamic lasts a really long time in the development. He doesn't write one diminuendo for the first million bars, okay? So I would try to get more specific with these things so that it adds up to different moods and different feelings instead of just beautiful. You play beautifully, but I just want a little more concretization with the text because you clearly can do it. And I hope you think that that was more beautiful, what you just did.
Yeah.
Okay? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Great. Wonderful. And thank you. Yeah, it's kind of amazing when he writes it like that. But we just play it automatically, you know. So don't learn with records, learn with your eyes.
Okay.
And definitely decide a vibrato, decide a bow speed, decide how much you're going to use for every dynamic, for every mood. Okay?
Thank you.
Because you can do it.
Thank you so much.
Hi. How are you? Good. Oh, something we haven't heard yet. Great. This is great. Do you need this? We'll use it after. Okay. Do they know who you are? Can you please tell these nice people who you are?
Hey, I'm Jen. I'm from Art Council.
Can't hear you.
My name is Zhen Liu. I'm from China. Right now I study at Bard Conservatory.
Oh,
Yes.
see, I didn't read anything about any of you people. So, okay. And what will you be playing for these nice people?
Today I will play the Izai Sonata No. 4, first movement.
Okay. How do you feel?
So,
How's your English?
good.
Oh, good. So now tell me how you feel.
Maybe some pause is not good enough, and sometimes not quite quiet, and not it has not good dynamic everywhere.
Oh, so when you say not good enough, what do you mean? You mean the things that you just mentioned, or when you say not good enough?
I think dynamic could be more exaggerated, or could be more obvious to her.
Which dynamics, the loud ones or the
From
soft
40
ones?
to 40 or some at the very end.
Okay.
I do the slower, getting slower, and with crescendo, which is really hard. I don't know how to do it.
What if you didn't worry about any of those things that you just said? What if just for 20 minutes we think about something else?
Sure.
Because I can hear your dynamic contrast. I can hear the soft, I can hear the loud, I can hear the loudest. I can hear all of that. What I would like to hear more of is Bach. Bach.
Yes.
These sonatas are based on the 6 Bach sonatas and partitas, right? So my feeling about Isai is that it's always, you should treat it like Bach, but on crazy drugs. It's like Bach with very strange harmonies, okay? Now, the thing about Bach is that it's all very orderly. It's based on sequences and harmony and certain rhythms. So if the beginning were by Bach, and if it weren't forte, how would you play it? Just try. So you can see that it's a sequence, right? So when you have a sequence, so hold on, sorry. I'm age 50, I still write in my part how many times something comes. Because if it's twice, you're going to treat it differently than 4 times. It will affect your pacing. You know the word pacing, how to plan? Mm-hmm. Okay, so how many times does that sequence come at the beginning?
Go to the downbeat.
Oh, no, but the motive itself, the material is ya-da-da-da-da-da-dee. That's 1. Then da-da-da-da-da, twice. Then da-da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da-da. You have it 4 times. If you know that it happens 4 times, you have to plan so that you don't play your most at the beginning, right? Yes. Okay, so can you show us that this grows, not that it's forte? You know, all these dynamics, it's a relative term, right? Forte just means strong, but there are levels of strength. Some fortes are softer than some pianos, but the point is, pace yourself 4 times, okay? So can you show us that this happens 4 times, and as if it was Bach, which means it's beautiful. Good. Hold on. Chen. You start the second one really big.
Oh.
Can you save yourself? Once. Start again. So the other thing is to look at it logically. What are the notes that change? My feeling is that the notes that change, those are the ones that should grow, right? Because not everything is created equal. So what are the notes that change? You have... So these 2, those are the same. Those should start less so that you have more possibility later. Don't give me everything. Don't tell me all your secrets right away, right? Good. Now it's a little different. Now it's a little more different. Good. Okay, now, do you see an accent on the top there? But you do da-da-da-ta. The guy writes plenty of accents. Be so thankful when he doesn't. So my feeling is that this is lyrical music. It's singing music. Could you treat this all like the most beautiful melody you ever played? And forget that it's forte. Just only think about a singing line, okay? One more time. Okay, so do you see any dots there? Do you see? This is, if it were Bach, you know, the shorter the notes in Bach, the less important. You know that, right? It's good to read about these guys every now and then because one knows about harmony and one knows about the importance or lack of importance of notes. So the shorter the note, the less important. Like, that's French overture. So it's not. So can we just say for right now that the blacker the note, the faster and softer you play? Okay, so it starts with black notes. So even these, you know, in Bach's time, that kind of thing would not be written out. It's an embellishment, right? It's just a filler. Good, great. Again. Keep singing, keep singing. The black notes, Jen. The black notes, the black notes, the black notes, the black notes, the black notes. Sing. And now these are all black notes. Okay, so now, instead of looking at your left hand, which by the way doesn't help anybody, it just says, oh, come on, play in tune, play in tune. But what is the idea of this? Over 3 strings. What is the idea of that if that were Bach? What would that be? Wouldn't those be chords? Mm-hmm. They would be chords that have waves in them, right? So what if you just enjoyed the fact that it was over the 3 strings as if it was over 4 strings or a 5-string Baroque instrument? And don't worry about your left hand. Worry about the waves. Okay, how about just from the top? Sing, and now make chords. Yes, chords, chords, chords. Chen, I know you play so well. Can you play over there? Okay. But you don't have to look at your left hand. In other words, could you make a sound that travels to those nice people up there? Oh. Yeah, it should ring. Good, great. So, could you try once not pressing at all and use the whole bow? Yes. Good. Okay, good. So the way I practice all of this music, I always take away the difficulty, or I take away the clutter, the traffic. So the traffic is chords, yes, accents, and the huge dynamic. You know, in his case, the huge dynamic may just mean enthusiasm, not volume. So do me a favor, can you just play the top line as if it were Bach? Yes. So I see it. This is my upbringing. I just have to tell you that I come from a pianist who came from Arthur Schnabel, who believed in rhythmic distortion. So in my household, I always heard long notes longer, short notes shorter. So even if this is correct, long, so that there's more differentiation. Yes. Could you try it once? Good. Okay, now, how long is the first phrase? Because if you were playing Bach, you would have to figure out your phrases. So how does anybody figure out how long a phrase is?
3 bars.
Why?
Let's go to the where I stopped there.
Why?
Because I think
I hate to make you think so early in the morning, but how does anybody figure out where the end of a phrase is, or even a half phrase? You can participate.
Reading points.
How do you decide that? Harmony, cadences. Cadences, yes. So where is your first cadence or even half cadence? Is it here? Is it here or here?
The last note.
The last one. Okay, so if you know that you're going to the end, can you continue and not arrive anywhere? Do you know where you arrive? You arrive where all the big chords are. I don't blame you. It's hard to play chords without arriving, but that's why we're taking away the chords first. So can you make the longest phrase, all you said to the D sharp, and I agree with you. Can you play from the beginning once, phrasing all the way to the D sharp? The rhythm, the rhythm. Just for me, thank you. Okay, good, good, stop. And then, please stop. Now, just like with Christina, if you use all your bow before the end, I think you've ended sooner than you have. So, if you want a longer phrase, always start again instead of... the longer the phrase you want, the more imperceptibly, subtly, you have to restart many, many times. Okay, so can you try one more time, and then we're going to add the other stuff. Start again, start again, start again, start again, start again, and now to there. Okay, great. That's a beautiful phrase. Now just add the other things. But don't play any less beautifully than this. Just because there's chords. How about let's not add the forte yet, just add the chords. Good. Great. Beautiful. Great. Wait, stop.
Yeah, sorry.
No, but that's beautiful. I'm not saying stop because I don't like the way you play, but when you end a phrase, you should stop a little bit. Beautiful. The only thing is, I heard a little bit, if you want that chord more important than this, that's fine, but they can't be equal. Okay? So just because it's a chord doesn't mean you treat it mean. Treat it with more beauty, the chord, okay? For me, that's loud enough. But let's now, can you play from the beginning with everything? And see if you can play the next phrase in the same way. Okay?
You mean here or?
So we start, no, here. Great. Start again, chin, start again, sing, 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 sing. Beautiful. Wait, same idea, right? Great. Okay, good. But this phrase is slightly different. Tell me all the ways in which it's different. Harmonically. Let's start with harmonically. What's the big surprise? Then you're... G sharp. What does that do for it? Does it intensify or de-intensify? Bless you. Makes it a major chord. How do you feel about a major chord with all this minor?
More open.
Great, okay. That's one difference. And then what about the end of the phrase? Is it the same length? Doesn't it go further? Where does this phrase go?
Go for here.
Yes, but in the middle of that, there's a fermata, so he's delaying the end. So that means you have to plan even better to save all the sound for the end. Okay, so can you try the second phrase so that it sounds more developed than the first one? Wait, now you said open. You said open. So, but the note that makes it open is this. Try not to be mad at the G sharp. Yes, good. Now, all the way, 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 chin, all the way, all the way. Don't stop, don't stop, don't stop, don't stop. I didn't write it. Don't stop. there's no diminuendo. No, there's no diminuendo, and there's a fermata. All the way to the E, all the way. So, if you know that you're going to have a fermata there, can you save everything? Because you're already finished. All the way. Save it, save it. Great. Fine. This is fine. By the way, all the soft music I thought was beautiful. So what I think would be good is if you could treat all the loud music as beautifully as you played the soft music, okay? I don't know how much, okay. Yeah. Okay, really, the soft music was lovely. Can we just play, do you know what this word means? Because I'm testing him the way I tested you. Sensible. Doesn't mean sensible.
I think I checked before, but I forgot the meaning.
It means sensitive. So it doesn't mean you play all the music around it insensitively. It means those two beats are unbelievably sensitive. You know what the word sensitive means is. Okay, so could you play from this phrase, and right there where he says sensible, sensible, can you play incredibly sensitively? Wait.
Can you use another word to?
Oh, yes. Oh, sorry. Thank you.
Yeah.
Does anybody speak Chinese? Can anybody translate sensitive for this nice man? Sensitive is
Yes, gentle.
gentle, tender. Sorry, I don't have any other way.
Yes.
Okay. Those, what? Kind, right. As if you loved it. Good. Right here. So, if you're going to be sensitive, is it going to be a fast gesture or a slow gesture? If I do this to you, do you want me to do that? Okay. Can you make it slow? Take your time. Take your time, Chen. Beautiful. Okay. Those things are worth practicing. They're worth looking up on your computer because they make atmosphere. Okay, so you can certainly do it. I would just look for more beauty. So the way to do it is to play everything loud in your life softer, to figure out what the phrasing is. What is the shape? We already know that you find a shape by the cadence, right? Just because it's chords and accents doesn't actually change the music. And if you know that it comes from Bach, that would actually help you because otherwise it's only strong,
Yes.
right?
No idea.
Right, and so what we need is the change from strong to weak and beauty within strong, okay? Thank you so much. That was beautiful. Hi. Oh, you again.
Yeah.
Hi, Pam. Hi, Ray.
Ready.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Yes, you can.
This is the music.
I don't need it. No,
Okay.
but we can study it together.
Okay.
Is this? That's good. It'll be fresh. We like that. Hi. Oh. They need to know who you are. Sorry, I forgot.
I'm Mireille Ito.
Did you hear that? Mireille Ito. And what will you be playing?
I'm going to play the first movement of Beethoven's Violin Sonata Number 4.
In A minor, hopefully. Great, great, great. Okay. You play with such attention to and care to beauty and rounding the edges, and you always have sounded beautiful in the last week. But I'm going to mess you up now.
Okay.
Because my feeling so far with everybody is, for myself, is to find the right sound that fits the character. So in other words, I'm trying to never play like myself. I'm trying to play like what I think this guy is doing. Mm-hmm. So, how would you describe this movement? How would you describe him in general and this movement in particular?
This movement well, he was losing his hearing when he was writing this, so it's filled with sorrow and like no hope. No, yeah, but mature sound, yeah.
Mature, okay. If you were losing your hearing, you would be kind of angry, wouldn't you? Okay, and frustrated and so you said just sorrow, but I think it's more than that, okay? Now, tell me everything in the music that tells you that. Tell me about his tempo. Tell me about his markings.
The tempo is presto.
The tempo is presto.
There's lots of staccato.
There's lots of staccato. Mm-hmm. There's lots of what else?
Fortes and pianos.
Fortes and pianos. There are a lot of sforzandos. And what about the relationship of the two instruments? Is it a polite, my turn, I'm going to play for a while and then you play for a while?
No.
What is it? It's a quick back and forth, right? Mm-hmm. There's a lot of quick voice exchange and interruption, okay? Mm-hmm. So I find you much too polite for this music from what you just described. Mm-hmm. Okay, so first of all, presto is an unusual marking for him. Mm-hmm. This sonata has the nickname of being the Little Kreutzer. Oh. And you've heard the Kreutzer Sonata, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a wild piece. So this is a miniature kreutzer. So presto is, you know, when I learn a piece of music, I say, well, what else could it have been? It could have been allegro. It could have been allegro vivace. It could have been vivacissimo. But what is presto in relation to other fast markings, character-wise, to you? Play once allegro. Okay, now play allegro vivace. Okay, how about allegro molto vivace? You get what I'm driving at? Okay, how about allegro vivacissimo? Come on, go, go, Nicola. Okay, and now presto. Okay. Okay, so a tempo is a character. It is not a number on a metronome. The same way dynamics are a character and not a decibel level. Presto has a danger to it, like it's going to be derailed. I want to derail you in the next 15 minutes. Okay, now the other way I want to derail you is when you talk, you know, he only wrote piano, piano pianissimo, forte fortissimo, which again, therefore means mezzos, if mezzos are conspicuously absent, that means piano is not so soft and forte is not so necessarily so loud, so you have a big distance, right? So all your pianos, could you think about that P stands for present or paranoid or something other than pretty? Okay? Because all your pianos tend to relax. Both the sound and your pulse tend to relax, okay? Conversely, when somebody repeats something, when you talk, do you talk like this? This is really exciting. This is really exciting. This is really exciting. When you say something repeated, don't you say it with more something?
Yeah.
Okay, so can you add 3 times as if you're talking like a crazy person?
Okay.
Not a really nice girl? Okay, so can we try one more time, a more dangerous tempo, which means on the front of the beat, interruptive, as you said. I mean, as we said, you're going to exchange, and you're going to add what I would call baby dynamics. In other words, levels, okay? Good. Excellent. Once, and twice, and last time. Tempo, tempo, tempo. Tempo. Now you can stop. Okay, now, here's the other thing. I feel like you want to stop a lot within the music. Could we make a deal for the next 5 minutes that you don't stop within the music, you stop when the music stops, like in the rests? Because that's actually much more exciting than quasi-rhythmic, okay? The other thing is, just like in the Brahms, if you know it's dance material, you treat it one way as opposed to sing. I don't know if you were here for the last hour, but what is the one melody in this movement? There's melodic material, but there's really only one melody. What's the really singable thing? Well, you play that like the melody, which is what I'm getting at. It's melodic material, but it still has rhythmic focus, that. Isn't this really the only sort of tune? But even under that, listen to the piano part. Can you just play the piano part under the second theme? Left hand. There's constant motion in this movement. So even a melody is not the opportunity to take a bath, go out for a coffee and a cigarette. It's not a way to relax, but it's relatively relaxed. However, this is really just motivic music. So can you not see it as a way to let all the air out and, oh, finally, oh, I can play nicely. Okay, so the rhythm, it's going to sound strange to you, but I would always bring out the small notes, not the long notes, because long notes are acoustically heard anyway, right? And we also know that on this instrument, the minute a long note is played, it's over. So instead of us singing, can you release all your notes so that it sounds that you're actually playing the same music? Okay, so how about, that was good, the beginning. Are you sweating a little now? Can you play the beginning one more time for your most exciting version? Good. Rhythm, 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 rhythm. Stop. And then rhythm again. Rhythm. It's hers. Almost. But what's his signature marking that nobody had written before this guy? Crescendo to subito piano. I always say if it feels bad, it's right. Okay? You almost play to the bar line. But at the end you say, no, I couldn't possibly make a bad sound and have a heart attack. But if you actually play to the bar line, it causes a mild coronary, which is what I think he wants. So could you try dare to play all the way to the end of what he wrote, okay? How about from... Okay, so I hear much more of the E. Try one more of the D sharp. To the end. Yeah, so it is not acoustically possible to play in time, something like that. That's not interpretive time, that's just acoustic time. So let's just decide it will take a certain amount of time. And, yeah, now do you hear that? You hear, can you play you and your left hand right here? Okay, so I know you're trying to play together, but it actually doesn't sound together because you sound like a violin. A violin does this. They wish they could do that. They wish. They pretend. But can you make a fast decay on all long notes for the rest of your life that you play with one of these people? Okay? And then you actually have to re-articulate the little notes because these people, they put the fingers down. They have to actually make the notes. And we sort of smear in and out of everything. You know, this feels great. Oh yeah. Actually put them down, okay? Right there. Okay, now. Can you make sure that you speak the little notes? Because it starts to sound relaxed, even though I know you're not, okay? Which is good. Just one thing. A very fast crescendo from piano to fortissimo. We haven't had a fortissimo yet, right? Okay, so this better be your most. So the crescendo has to happen actually at the end of the measures, not in the long notes, because they can't grow in long notes, okay? Crescendo, fortissimo. Good. Rhythm. Good. One. Oh, chicken. I give you permission to play what he wrote. It will feel horrendous, I promise you. Now, this is good. The only thing is, Harmonically, it moves rather slowly around here, right? So, Nicola, do you mind playing just the chords in the development? And now here. Yep. Right? So it's how many bars at a time? What did she just do?
4?
Well, in an ideal scheme, yes, but it's really 2 bars per harmony, right? So instead of showing me every note, can you try playing with no bar lines? And so, yeah, organized. Like, I feel like you want to be in control. This does not look like control here. And when you have a conversation, the second person in is rarely an echo, right? Unfortunately, you're a violin, but can you fight her a little bit more here? How about right on the development? Development is double bar. But you can start here. 2 bars. 2 bars, you're the last one. Okay, now, it was so good, except for you have a little bit last note shyness, you know. Oh no, I couldn't possibly. Let's just decide that you're gonna play all the way to the end. That was great, by the way. The last one, come on, Mireille. Tempo, good. Rhythm, great. Small notes, small notes. 3rd time. Yeah, so sometimes you get caught in the wrong neighborhood, right? Because if you're over here, oh my God. I would say you should, my feeling about how much bow to use is only what you need and not what you have. So I know you have one of these, but it has to be proportional to the tempo and the note values that you're in. So even though it looks like a long note, or even the beginning, those look like long notes, right? Because they're white, but you know, in this tempo, I can do this. So even here, can you stay really in the speed of the music, right? So even these, I feel like you're in danger of luxuriating a little bit. So how about where that started? And your only goal is to sound like that instrument, because these sonatas were written for piano and violin. It's not just because my parents were pianists. Okay. So a case like that, when you have a repeated note, try to re-articulate a repeated note, because even right here, it sounds almost like one long note. Okay, so you don't need so much bow. Good. 2nd time. Come on, Marie. 3rd time. It's okay, it doesn't matter. Small, small. In 1. Okay, so now you have all this chasing. There's very few measures that are actually together in this movement. So my feeling is that if you're on the front side of the rhythm and you're chasing each other, the few moments that are together, you could actually hold. And by the way, here's where I'll give you my father's greatest trick. He was a great pianist, great musician. He used to say, if you cannot play louder, play later. So here's you have like 5 fortissimos, right? If you place that last one, which is actually together, and kind of hold it, it will sound 10 times as loud. Because timing is what makes strength. Volume is not what makes strength, okay? So you're allowed to rush like crazy and then add time there, okay? How about from here? By the way, this is where it's 4 bars at a time, harmonically, right?
Yeah.
So you should feel that the harmony change is here, not here, okay? Different. And now, good. So the first note was good, but then you always have to re-articulate the little note. That's the one that will make or break it. bars, new chord. And now together. Good. No, don't relax. Oh, you want to beautify. Oh no, I couldn't possibly go on like this for too long. Does that sound relaxed to you? No, good. Okay, so how about right there? Okay, so you love your long notes. Could you love your small notes, your short notes more? Good. Together. Okay, now, yeah. He did not write a retard, right? What did he write? A whole lot of nothing. Now, of course, if you want to take a hair of time, but it's not for relaxation, right? So actually, it goes all the way. Let the piano do it, because the piano has continuing music, right? But if you do, it's over, it's over. Now this theme, listen. Can you listen to the accompaniment of the next theme? Duddy, duddy, diddy, buddy, buddy, duddy. So that's actually a gogic. Duddy, duddy. One doesn't hear the long notes. One hears the small notes. 6-1, 6-1, 6-1. One hears the fast notes. So that's where all the energy comes from. That's where the presto shows up in this movement. So could we try getting into this once without going out for a coffee? Yeah. Okay. How about from? I have no idea if it's time. Is it? Oh, 5. Okay. Let her do it. Okay, now that. When I see this, I know it's over. Because you've literally just let all the air go, right? Can you keep it? Because if you play this, there's no sound left, but you haven't gone to pianissimo yet, right? No. But this is like al niente, to nothing, right? Keep some tension in so that you can go on. Keep it, keep it, keep it. 6-1, 6-1, so it's 2, it's also here. Yeah, sure. 6-1, 6-1, good. This is rhythm also, rhythm. Yeah, so this is harmony and rhythm. I know it feels so good to me. Oh, good, I can sing now, No. She needs rhythm at 6-1. I mean, I'm exaggerating, right? But don't use it as an opportunity for a bath, okay? Right here. 6-1, good. This is the other time in the movement where it's actually together. So here I would not play too fast. I mean, I would play full note values, right? Now we're about to get the axe, but I want the one last crescendo to subito piano so that you can feel bad before you leave, okay? How about from here? Right? Chicken. Do it in the last note, not the second to last note. Good. Yeah, now this retard I also would not mathematically organize and finish. I would do it by the big beats and not ta 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 ta. Because if you stop here, this is not a surprise that it goes on, right? Yeah. By the way, the person with the more important part should always lead these things. End of story for chamber music also. Okay, so you have you're important. This is yours, this is the piano's. It's the piano. It's all the piano there. So how about you lead this? To the end of the measure. Good. Chicken. this is pianissimo. Yeah, now, the reason that's not together is because you play like a violin and you sneak into this. The poor girl, she does this. How about just the last measure? And isn't that pianissimo?
Yeah.
Okay, now can you scare yourselves? That is not a scary rest. Now, there is something funny about this. It's an interruption, harmonic interruption. That's not a continuation. So can the second bar be even more surprising than the first? Pianissimo, pianissimo, pianissimo. Go. Good. The only thing is, this is piano, and this is pianissimo. Can it be much clearer that the length of the rest should depend on what's coming next, right? So how about the last? Don't move. Piano, nothing. There you go. And then what happens after that?
Fermata.
Yes. Why would he write a fermata after the movement is done? For God's sake.
It's more dramatic.
Yes, the tension is still being held. So you should play through the fermata. Okay? Not just, oh, now we're done. If it feels bad, it's right. So please dare to play what he wrote, even if it doesn't suit your own aesthetics, right? Great, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Wonderful, great. Thanks, Nicola. Are you done? Oh, thank you so much. Wonderful, it was wonderful. Oh, no, don't do that. then you have to hold me to it, no. Who's now? Come on. I remember you from a long time ago.
Yeah.
Nice to see you again. What are you playing?
Look at the computer, 19.
Okay, are you using the music?
You can have it.
Can I have it? You need to tell these nice people who you are.
Hi, I'm Eleanor Kawazu from the U.S.
Did you hear any of that? Could you try that again?
Yeah. Hi, my name is Elena Kawazu. I'm from the U.S.
Elena Kawazu from the U.S. I'll just translate for you.
Thank you.
Yes. And what will you be playing?
I'll be playing Locatelli Caprice number 19 for solo violin.
Can you remind these people when you did the Menuhin competition before?
Yes, I was at the Menuhin competition in 2008 when I was 10. Yeah.
You're still very cute, but you were unbelievably cute then.
I got less cute.
No. We're all less cute. No. Anyway, I remember you from then. Okay, so it's excellent. I mean, you play fantastically, obviously. What I want to do is fool around with this a little bit more with you, because when you see something like this in your life, what's the challenge? I mean, what is the challenge? Looks like a lot of the same stuff, right? So I'm always looking for how to mix something up and not have it sound the same. So what do you look for? What are the things that can make something different, even within the same rhythm? This is all the same rhythm.
Harmony, timing.
Right. Okay, so could you phrase every harmony? Now, when I say that, what I mean is that the function of each chord is different. You have a little bit of a habit of loving your first chord and your last chord. But what I would love to hear is the progression. Not just firstborn child, lastborn child. The middle children aren't going to have complexes, right? So it would be beautiful. So could you try once playing slower, more slowly, so that we can hear what you are doing from beat to beat instead of from chunk to chunk, okay? And then the other thing is, you said timing. Could you take a different amount of time on whatever harmonies you find more interesting? Okay? So can we play a little slower so that one can actually understand it? Okay, so between, seems like you like your home key more than your dominant key. Is there a way to show, my feeling about harmony is that the expected ones we don't need to bring out. We should just bring out something that changes, not what we expect. So can you try just using, you said timing, but maybe not just on the first note, because the other thing about this music, which is, I mean, all this Baroque music, is that it's the whole chord. We don't know what the chord is until you've played the other at least two notes, right? So just to do just the first note doesn't help me understand what the chord is.
Okay.
Okay, so good, already much better. I would say, if it were in that register, you would probably love all 6 notes a little sooner, right?
Yeah.
In other words, it's again, it's not just the C. Whatever you love, can you spread the love over the whole 6 notes instead of just the first one? Beautiful. Now, I would say, now this, the function of that, do you see that as a continuation or as something new? Every time that comes, da-da-da-ba-ba.
It's a little, it's not exactly something different. It's definitely something that you can, it's a continuation, but it's also a little, it shows what could come later, which is the little counter theme there.
Yes, so for instance, I didn't know that you were trying to show that something different came later, because you played connected to the previous music, but you also played connected to the next music.
Okay.
So I think you should only have one connection, right? And one semi-disconnection. The other way to add variety is what you do with your bass notes. How much bow, how much vibrato, how much sound? So can you try doing what you just did now, but varying what you do with the first notes also? Good. Good. Great. Okay, now I understand it more. I mean, in other words, I hear it instead of feeling just the chaos of the rhythm. Now, the next phrase, though, This one, how is this different from the first one? I'm just always asking myself, what is different? How can I show what's different? So what is different about the second phrase to the first one?
Well, instead of it going from 1 to a 5, it's now there's actually a progression of 3 chords.
Yes.
It's
So
moving
can you
some-
treat it totally differently than what you did the first time? In other words, which chord is more important to you in the second phrase? Which one is more surprising? Let's put it that way.
The first.
Yeah. And the difference is that the first one gets repeated in 2 beats. Therefore, you should not treat the second beat the same way you treated the second beat of the first phrase, right? Good. Surprise. Now, so if you know that something is not a surprise, I would not take as much time. In other words, this one you did as if you were going to do this, but that's just a normal cadence, right? Can you also try, instead of the same timing of all the fast notes, can those all be different from each other also? Good, great. Surprise. Different, just different. No surprise. Whoa, isn't there something vastly different this time? We haven't had that yet. I would not go as fast. You know, we don't know how this goes. I mean, even if we do. But somehow you have to help a listener towards and away from things, right? So I would have never known that this was a different chord. Have you ever practiced this slurred instead of, but
I played it in various constellations, but not necessarily in 6. I've played it in 3 and 2. And
could we try, just for fun, playing them in 6, because 6 notes makes the whole chord, actually, so that it's not only about rhythm. I guess what I would like to hear is more harmonic phrasing and less rhythmic phrasing. So can you just play the opening one more time, 6 at a time? It's okay, take your time, Elena, take your time. Different energy. But isn't that a beautiful chord? That is it 7th chord? Can you play this one again? See, I feel like you love your first notes, but I wish you would love all of them, because it all has a little bit the same energy. Yes. But in this case, aren't both chords surprising? Like, we haven't modulated yet. So it's both of them.
Yeah.
So now can you play without slurring, but thinking this way, so that it's not just slow, fast, slow, fast, slow, fast, slow, fast. So it's more organic.
From the beginning?
From the beginning, yep. Think slurred. Different. Good. Steady. How about steady? Great. I understood that one. Now this is different. And again. Good. Okay. Now, the one thing to add to this, because there's no end to the amount of artistry that one can add to this. Can the speed of your vibrato change according to the different moods? Because you have a wonderful, excited vibrato, but it's equally excited on all of them. And you also know, we know from this time period that slurs were the vibrato. They didn't really vibrate, right? So could you try once, when you have the urge to vibrate, could you love the whole chord instead of just the first note, with more with the bow and less with the left hand? Yes. See, now there you bring out the Fs, but we've heard so many Fs already. Like, the F by itself doesn't really mean anything to me anymore. Can you bring out what changes in that phrase? Beautiful. Okay, so, but you have G major. You've had G major for a long time already, so I wouldn't sit on G major, right? You sit on the first one. You use the whole bow, you use a lot of time. You've already established G major. I would say, again, try not to get into habitual playing of this. Now, this is just personal, but with distance, I think when you want to bring out a chord that changes, you should not play so fast, because one just doesn't appreciate the pitches, right? So try once, just so that you're showing us a little bit the beauty of the chord change. Okay, now this is different too. We haven't had anything extended. So the way you start it, I would start it differently than the way you started the other ones. So do you ever practice all these little interludes next to each other for variety?
You mean here or here?
All of them.
No.
Okay, can we do this once? So you're now just going to play all of these for the differences between them. Okay? Okay, so the only one that I didn't hear enough of a different, this comes down a third, the first two come down, and then the third one does what? The third interlude doesn't come down a third. I'm sorry, it's not the third, it's the fourth one.
Yeah, the first one.
So can you bring out what changes in that one? Okay. Fine, that was all. So I wouldn't play necessarily the same articulation on the thing that changes. Yes, exactly. Now, when you have, I also wouldn't play as short as the beginnings of the other ones because it goes on. Can you show us in your sound that the last one we did is going to go on? Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Even between D minor and A minor, can you show a difference between the chords? No, but the thing is, you said timing, so I'm going to hold you to it. You have a habit of slow, fast, slow, fast, slow, fast. Could there be shades of medium? Yes, exactly. Now, but this, for me, this is the most beautiful part of this, because it's not rhythmic. So can you love? Can you just play the bass line of this once? So that's interesting. Even like this, you favor your first and your fourth chords. Do you hear that you do that? Do you want to do that? Because I hear it. I mean, I'm exaggerating. It's not that much. But is that what you want? Could you show other possibilities for the shape of that bass line? Yeah, no, not the fast notes yet. I just want to work on the frame, the skeleton. So maybe it's technical, but you definitely always use everything on the first note. You use the whole bow, and then there's really no possibility for singing anything else. Could you try once as if it's a beautiful bass line? Try slurring the bass line. Not the first note, not the first note. Try not the first note so much. Isn't the third chord more interesting than the first? Often. So I would shape it more towards the middles of these chord progressions, okay? So now add the other music, but since you're playing a more linear line, you can vary the speed so that it's not slow, fast, slow, fast, slow, fast, but that one loves that melody a little bit more. See, but you love this one. Can you, what would happen if it were steady? So that one can follow the inevitability of the line instead of something sticking out and something not sticking out. So now your bow definitely phrased, but your left hand didn't go with your right hand. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I mean, in other words, you do nothing with the left hand and then suddenly. So I guess what I'm after is a little more steadiness here. Different? Yeah. So now you have every 4 chords a new thing. Can the F start differently than the G did? Bass line, just the bass line, just the bass line. And now very different, very different. Beautiful, great. So this is such a surprise that it needs more attention, right? Can you play from the previous phrase ones? Different? So here it's not just the E, it's the whole chord. I need the whole chord, not just the first note. So now the thing with vibrato, and we haven't even had time to talk about vibrato, but make sure that the vibrato is conscious on notes that you actually want to bring out and not just a habit. So if you don't want the first note to be so strong, just watch where you vibrate once. Make sure it's where you really want to bring out a chord, and how you vibrate around open strings. Like for instance, that last phrase has 2 open strings, right? I mean, sorry, 1. So if you vibrate a lot around other beats that have open strings, it sounds vastly different. So I'm not sure. I guess I'm not convinced that you want that. Mm-hmm. Do you want that? Mm-hmm. You do. Then I can't stop you. Okay, so try from there. But see if you can homogenize the sounds a little bit. See, now in that phrase, is it the C that's important? In that harmonic progression. Because you sit on the C the same way you sat on the C in the previous one. But that's not what changes. Yeah, and here again, when you have this, when you have the stepwise, when you have the scale, I would treat the fast notes more melodically when you have a scale, so that you indicate to us, oh, now something lyrical is actually coming. And now it's different. It's different. Beautiful, great. Wait. Is there a way to bring out? Is there a way to bring out the middles of the chords and not the beginning and the top note? The whole, yes. Beautiful. So I hear. Which chord can you prioritize? The A or the E? Right, so actually, isn't the A a resolution of that? That's nothing new. Could you treat that as a weak beat? Yeah, fine. So it's the same thing. I need the whole chord. So take your time, take your time. It's so beautiful, this. It can be beautiful. Yes, it's so beautiful, this. This is a little different, so you don't have to use the same timing, right? Yeah, the timing should reflect the function of the chords, right? Otherwise it gets predictable. Slow, fast, slow, fast, slow, fast, loud, soft, loud, soft. I don't know if we have the, oh, okay. So how, the end, right? Because that's more, can you play maybe from wherever you want? And can you show us that something different happens at the end? So it was good, except you stop on the C as if you've stopped on all the other ones, right? But the C is the one that actually is the weak part and turns around. So show us only what changes, not what we've already heard from their one, the last one. That's the surprise this time. Yeah, and so I would say timing-wise that you should probably take more time in the extra music that we haven't heard to signal that that's the end. Otherwise, I think you're going to go on for another 10 minutes like that. The one thing I would add to this is to practice without vibrato, so that whenever you have the urge to vibrate, I think it's because you want to either bring out that note or play more beautifully. I could be wrong, but are those the reasons to vibrate?
Vibrato is more of an accessory.
Say it again.
Vibrato is more of an accessory.
It's an accessory to a crime, right? So if you could establish how beautifully you want to play without vibrato first, and then add it to that. Because sometimes I feel like it's sort of instead of, right? And then I would practice this on the piano so that you actually hear the chords, so that it doesn't become just violinistic. Because that was beautiful now, because you changed your timing and your sound according to the actual chord progression. Right, because this is in danger of symmetry. Okay? Thank you so much. Wonderful. Beautiful. Thank you all for coming. See you around.